I say what? Ho, this is Brian. Call me your lucky charm, dressed up in Love Gardner, coming to you from Ramble On Tower's Dungeon Studio in scenic Hesper, Ontario, and you are listening to Ramble On Radio, episode number 65. Ramble On Radio is the only dedicated Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for your Led Zeppelin news, any links I might mention during the show, etc. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. You go to iTunes, drop a little review, give a star, give 3 stars, give 5 stars. Everybody's been giving 5 stars. Thank you for that. But do so. It just helps with the placement of the podcast within the iTunes hierarchy. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker. Same issue. Helps with placement. And check out Ramble On Radio on YouTube, where I am taping this tonight on a little tiny camera. It's actually a Tim Hortons camera. I talked about Tim Hortons. My daughter works at Tim Hortons for a while. It even says Tim Hortons on it. I'll have to take a picture of it and show you guys on Facebook. But anyway, follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. I try to respond to people. You can also email me, rambleon@briangardner.ca. But again, I do try to respond. I do try to be back and forthish. I guess that's the right word, right? Anyway, had a plan this week. Oh, I had a plan. But plans change, and sometimes you have to be. Sometimes you have to roll with it, baby, like you're a Steve Winwood podcaster. That's what has to happen. This week was Led Zeppelin 3 week. I was looking forward to it. Led Zeppelin 3, I have, right here, I have the music book, Led Zeppelin 3, which you can see on YouTube, by the way. Learning some of the songs on the guitar, and like learning them proper. No, not the way I learned them many, many years ago. It was always a favorite album. It was certainly from a guitar player's perspective. When I was a teenager, I fell in love with Led Zeppelin through Led Zeppelin 3. And was so mesmerized with the guitar playing in Led Zeppelin 3. So it's a big one to me. And I was really looking forward to this week and talking about it, and we're going to do that next week. That's all. We had to roll with it, like I say. In the end, real world things happened in the Led Zeppelin world. And it'll wait a week. I didn't want to get too behind the curve, is what happens. I realized by the time I was doing last week's podcast, I kind of realized Robert Plant was touring, John Paul Jones was touring, Jason Bonham was touring, and I wasn't talking about any of that. And then this week, Robert Plant dropped a new song from his new album on us. Actually dropped 2, really, when you think about it. One is a single. Another one's available on YouTube. Plus, if you go to iTunes, you can hear like a minute and 30 seconds of a couple of others, 3 others. I'll discuss all that. But that's basically those 3 things are happening. And I thought I didn't want to wait another week and then, basically talking about everything in the past tense. This is happening now. The Led Zeppelin 3's 40 years old. The remasters will be out for a while. They'll still be on sale next week. So it'll just give me a chance to be on top of these subjects as they're hitting. And this is going to be like an old school. We're going old school tonight. Back to the days before I did the weekly podcast when it was a whenever I could podcast. Probably about 20 or 30 episodes ago, where I used to rhyme off Jimmy Page, Jason Bonham, and so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. It's going to be one of those style, because we had a little of everything, a little of everybody, although not much Jimmy. There's been a few interviews, but I haven't really read them, and I don't get that he's saying, I don't get, the information I'm getting, it's not that he's saying anything spectacularly new. But he did 30 years ago this week, June 24, 1984, he played kind of in public for the first time with Yes. He was in Germany, I think it was. And they played The Beatles' I'm Gone, and one of the magazines, Classic Rock, I think, one of the websites, magazines / whatever, did a story on it this week, along with a video that had the song. It was like an 8-minute version of the song. And truthfully, it wasn't. It was sloppy. Like Yes was a complicated band. Jimmy Page is a all over the place guitar player sometimes, and they're playing a very basic song, you know. So it was maybe a little out of context for everybody. Jimmy was probably a little out of practice. It was, you know, he was trying to get back into playing at the time. Don't gather that he was playing much at the time, and it's a lousy recording. It's a 1984 somebody in the audience recording, which is to say lousy. So, but it's out there. If you want to look for it, it's out there. Like I said, one of the magazines. But if you just Google Jimmy Page, Yes, June 24, 1984, Jimmy Page, Yes, I'm Gone, that sort of thing. Jimmy Page, Yes, the Beatles, probably. It'll come. Yeah, it's all right. It's an interesting thing, right? And it brings Jimmy Page into the conversation here. Okay, I'm going to go to Jason Bonham I'm skipping over my notes, but Jason Bonham is playing with Heart. Now, this isn't like last year when Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Experience opened for Heart, then Heart did their set, and then Jason Bonham came out for a 3-song or 4-song encore. What they're doing is they're doing a set of Heart songs and a set of Led Zeppelin songs. It was actually 14 Heart songs, including Barracuda, Heartless, Babe Lestrange, Kick It Out, Even Up, Straight On, Let Me Roll It, These Dreams, Crazy on You, Let Me Roll It, I'm thinking it's the Paul McCartney. And I mean, they, but the Heart show, it was 14 songs long. And then 8 Led Zeppelin songs after an intermission. They did an intermission, then came back out for 8 Led Zeppelin songs. Jason Bonham was on drums with them for the 8 Led Zeppelins. I think they're still doing it. I've been trying to look up the... here we go. It's a Canadian tour, by the way. My notes are from the first one. I didn't realize that even. It was Montreal on June 14th, Quebec June 15th, Oshawa June 17th, Ottawa June 18th. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. That would have been good, actually. Sault Ste. Marie's a small area. That might have been a good place to go. I should have gone up there. But that was on the 20th. 22nd was Winnipeg. 23rd was Regina. 24th, Edmonton. 26th, Calgary. And this is the 26th. So tonight they're in Calgary. Friday, 28th, in Kelowna, BC. And the 29th, Saturday night, in Victoria. So that's a 2-week tour, basically. And so Jason is doing the drums for the Led Zeppelin part. That's all that's happening. Tony Catania's not with them. Nobody came out with them. Just Jason on drums for the Led Zeppelin part. The Led Zeppelin part, this is Montreal. Now, as you heard, there's a number, that was the first show, so it may have changed. But Montreal, it went Battle of Evermore, which wouldn't have included Jason, right? And then Four Sticks, No Quarter, The Ocean, Immigrant Song, Kashmir, The Rain Song. And then guess what they ended with? Guess what they ended the night with? Yeah, Stairway to Heaven. They did the Kennedy Center version. They had the Quebec Celebration Gospel Choir join them. So, the Rain Song and Stairway to Heaven. I'm really not asking Jason to step out there, are you? But I guess Kashmir. Four Sticks too. Four Sticks is hard. But he knows all these songs pretty well, right? Is No Quarter a big drawing? Like, I know the keyboard guys, and from a guitar perspective, No Quarter is always an interesting song. Is it a drum song? I think it has some interesting drum bits too, doesn't it? But anyway, that's what they're doing. No encore, by the way. Apparently, fans were not pleased in Montreal at no encore. It ended with Stairway to Heaven. That was it. Good night, Montreal. We'll see you. Jason Bonham has left the building. So if you're going to see Heart in the next couple of days, that's basically what you're going to see with Jason Bonham on drums. We're doing 10 minutes in. This is going to be a quick one, I think. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then there's John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones is currently touring again with Dave Rawlings' Machine, June 18th to the 27th. This is the 26th, so he ends. So Jason's the 14th to the 29th. 18th, 27th, Jason Bonham with the Dave Rawlings Machine. They did about 5 shows, I think it is. It's not a big chunk of shows. Last Wednesday to this Friday is what it is. So this must be Thursday. So that must be Saturday, Sunday are the last shows, by the way, for Jason Bonham. Not Friday, Saturday. This is Wow, Thursday already. Nice. Week's almost over. So here's the set list from the 20th. The 20th. The Monkey and the Engineer. It's a Jesse Fuller cover. Jesse Fuller, I believe, is in the band. Hot Corn, Cold Corn. Keep It Clean, Charlie Jordan cover, and Charlie Jordan may be in the band. You got to be watching for this stuff. Charlie Jordan, I'm not sure. Gillian Welch cover, Wayside. Gillian Welch is definitely in the band. Bells of Harlem, It's Easy. Ruby, He Will Set Your Fields on Fire. Bill Monroe cover. Bill Monroe is definitely not in the band. I'm just saying. There was one of these songs was also a Gillian Welch / Alison Krauss song. And I thought I wrote it out. It may be Ruby. Maybe Bells of Harlem, It's Too Easy as well. Sweet Tooth, I Hear Them All, This Land Is Your Land, The Midnight Special, Method Acting, Cortez the Killer, the Neil Young cover, Queen Jane Approximately, a Bob Dylan cover, and Going to California. That would be a Led Zeppelin cover, for those who don't know. And if you don't know that, why are you downloading a Led Zeppelin podcast? This is the information I need to know. So, basically, John Paul Jones is playing mandolin through the set, same as last year, as far as I can gather anyway. I haven't heard that he's picked up the trombone or anything like that. He's a mandolin player in the band, basically. And definitely Gillian Welch. I almost positive Jesse Fuller. I don't know who else is in the band. But so Jesse Fuller would have sang the Jesse Fuller song. Gillian Welch would have sang the Gillian Welch song. The set list, mysetlist.com or whatever it is, calls it a Gillian Welch cover, but it's not really. She's in the band. This actually led me to an interesting thought. We all pine for a Led Zeppelin reunion, for Jimmy Page and Robert Plant to do something. I talked last week about maybe Jimmy Page should just go out with John Paul Jones, call it the Led Zeppelin. Was it last week? A couple of weeks ago. Call it like, Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones presents the music of Led Zeppelin, something like that. Or Jimmy Page go out with Jason Bonham, but go out with one other guy, not 2 other guys, I guess was my point there. But we don't think about this side of it. What if John Paul Jones and Robert Plant went out together and did like bluegrass songs? Hey, that would be, well, I wouldn't go, would you? But I bet you lots would. And they could do like Going to California, Black Country Woman, that sort of thing, right? But I thought of that for 2 reasons. Because one of the songs in this is a Gillian Welch / Alison Krauss cover, and Robert's obviously played with Alison Krauss. So they had that in common. And He Will Set Your Fields on Fire is a Bill Monroe cover. And one of the songs Robert Plant is doing in his new album, one of the ones he popped out onto YouTube this week. I'm thinking this new YouTube video on my it was a gift to my daughter camera from Tim Hortons, that cost about $12. I'm thinking mine will outpace Robert's YouTube video of Little Maggie. Just a guess. At least here in the U.S. where they haven't made it available. Hey, I got a chance on that one. So yeah, Little Maggie's an old song. It's been around 100 years. And I have notes. I wrote a longish article on rambleonradio.com. It's probably the first article up about the new songs. And I point out, it opens with Little Maggie. Its genesis traced back to early as 100 years ago. The Traditional Tune Archive. According to them, fiddler Tommy Jarrell remembers hearing the song in North Carolina, 1912 or 1913, around that era. So it's a traditional song that at least goes back that far. Bill Monroe, I read somewhere somebody gave Bill Monroe credit for writing it. Bill Monroe would not have written the song if it was being heard 100 years ago in the hills of North Carolina. He would have been, I'm going to say 6. I think he was born in 1906. And no, I don't have a solid memory for this stuff. I'm not a big Bill Monroe freak. I was looking it all up for this article, and just happened to make note of because that's the thought. I saw that he had written it. Somebody saying he'd written it, and I noticed that. Well, he'd be about 6, so maybe not. So no, don't start emailing me your bluegrass questions, figuring I'm an expert. I'm not. So the song was covered by Bill Monroe, Ricky Skaggs, Bob Dylan, the Stanley Brothers, Kingston Trio, and others. It was considered, in the 60s folk era, Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, that sort of stuff, it was considered core repertoire. There was a number of songs. This Land Is Your Land, that sort of thing. Were all considered songs that folk singers sang, right? These core repertoire songs. And Little Maggie was one. Plant has picked it up. He's doing it. And they kind of twist it a bit. It's a bit Celtic. It's a weird thing. It's got a Celtic feel to it, but the Celtic stuff is the fiddles and whistles come in, but they seem to be slightly pulled out of tune, and therefore giving it a bit of an Indian feel. And don't take that as a bitch slap against Indian music or the Celtic fiddle player Robert Plant got. I don't mean that. I mean they've done it intentionally. And Indian music has, we listen here in the Western world, we listen in tones, half tones. If you go from white key to white key, C to D, for instance, on a piano, D to D sharp, whatever, one key to the next key, that is half a tone. That is the smallest tonal distance in Western music. It is so because Pythagoras said it is so, but that is it. In a lot of Eastern music, they get into smaller tones. It's why a lot of Eastern music sounds funny to Western ears. So if you get used to this kind of half-tone music, somebody starts playing quarter tones, it becomes very dissonant sounding. And dissonance is specifically the word that you're looking for there. That's an intentional... Dissonance is an intentional out of tunishness, or an intentional doesn't sound harmonious. So what they've done in this is they've given it that feel of dissonance, and it gives it a bit of an Indian feel, has a bit of a Celtic feel. It's a different feel. I listened to 4 or 5 versions of Little Maggie, and it's very different than all the rest, and yet it's the same song. It's similar to the rest. He definitely pulled the Bill Monroe version of the lyrics. Most of the lyrics are very similar, but moved around. And Plant has moved them into his own special zone as well. But very close to the Bill Monroe. Very close. So that's Little Maggie. Little Maggie's the first song on the album. It's not been released as a single as far as I know. It's possible they released it in Europe. But it doesn't seem to be the case. But they did release it as a video on YouTube specifically for the European market. Little Maggie's also the first song he premiered off the album live. He did that in New Orleans a couple of months ago. Maybe as a matter of fact, I think I played it on this here podcast 5 or 6 episodes ago, maybe. YouTube guys, see what the cup is? Can you see it? Ahmet Ertegun Tribute Concert. I noticed this week that Ross Halfin was complaining about concert shirts. He was saying, what the hell's going on in this world of concert shirts? Why does nobody make a decent looking concert shirt anymore? And I would say, talk to the guys at the Ahmet Ertegun Tribute Concert, because they had one shirt available and it really was crap. Not that I didn't buy one, not that you wouldn't notice it walking down. You'd notice me walking down the street with it because it's the only one they made, and because it is fairly unique in that it was all black with kind of orange to reddish lettering, different variations of with everybody's name on it. So Ross I'll start with asking your buddy Jimmy, what the hell was with the 2007 O2 t-shirts? Just saying. Just a sidebar. Just a sidebar, because I don't want to fall too far under half an hour for this. Nah, we're not going to do that. We're over 20 minutes already. I was thinking that John Paul Jones and Robert would have a similarity in that. They've both done the bluegrass music quite a bit. Robert seems to have gone into the bluegrass field, and he actually seems to be, and this is something I'm going to talk about a bit in a minute, but seems to be falling into the Celtic English side of things now. But wouldn't it be a neat idea for them to come out and then say, no, we're not really going to do the Led Zeppelin. Don't want to be a jukebox, quote unquote. But they wouldn't have, like I say, going to California, they both play it, Black Country Woman, Gallows Pole, right? Sorry guys, that's all we're doing for Led Zeppelin songs. So be upfront about that. And then the rest will be, you could do songs off the Alison Krauss album. You could do songs off Robert's new album. You could do some stuff off John Paul Jones album. You could do some of these sorts of songs. And maybe you could get old Dave Rollins to come out and do it with you. You think? So that's I guess what I was. Yeah, I guess that's where I wanted to go on that. So then back to Robert. So I'm talking about the little Maggie and the Indian / Celtic. Now he sings in. I'm going to jump a bit here. He does 3 songs that they offer on iTunes and probably on Amazon, probably on other download locations. Clips of the songs from the album. Pocket Full of Golden, Turn It Up, Somebody There. Turn It Up was the clip of it was he was rocking, he was riding into it fairly hard. And then there's this really wildish kind of solo. So it sounds good. And then he kind of comes out like it's Tin Pan Valley, I think it was. Yes, Tin Pan Valley is lost inside America. I'm turning inside out. But he sings this line about I'm lost inside America and I'm turning inside out. I'm turning into someone else I heard so much about. I'm blinded by the neon, the rights and the might. I'm stuck inside the radio, and then that's where it fades out. And by the way, I pulled this clip. I grabbed it. I screen grabbed the clip, and I was gonna start the podcast with it. I was gonna roll it as my intro, and I still think hey, look, I talked to the Robert Plant people, or I emailed them and said, hey, I want to do some stuff on the album and whatnot, and they in typical fashion absolutely did not get back to me. So I'm thinking, you don't want to play clips off the album, but I'm thinking, well, they don't give a rat's ass what I do, so why don't I just do what I do? but I've decided not to, and come next Tuesday I could change my mind, and too late. Before I go to bed tonight, I could change my mind and outro with it, but I don't think I'm going to outro on you. I don't think I'm going to do it. But anyway, Turn It Up. Yeah, Turn It Up was really good. And from the solo out was kind of an interesting line. So I think Robert's left America. We don't talk much about this. We haven't heard much about this. But he seems to have left America behind. He seems to have split with Patty Griffin. That's almost assuredly they're on the outs, right? That seems to have split. And he seems to have left America, and he seems to be being very British these days. And he sounds like I heard another quote somewhere, and I forget what it was, but something about roaming around his whole country. And it sounds like he's turning into the English guy again a bit. So that he's almost in a way the guy who in 1970 went to Branwar and discovered the ancient history of and was writing about that stuff. Not that I think he'll start writing about hobbits and Vikings. You could hope. You could hope. He made it interesting. Very few people can write about that stuff and make it interesting. He could anyway. But I think he's almost in that kind of a mindset now, and the music is reflecting that a bit. But that was an interesting song. Turn It Up, and the way he worked. Think of that when you hear Little Maggie. That the Celtic twist they've put on it, and is taking an American song and making it very British and kind of Indian, and then think about that line about turning into someone else I heard so much about, Lost Inside America. Because it's almost what he did to Little Maggie. He's turned it inside out. So that was interesting. Second song that he did release as a single here in the Americas for sure. I'm guessing in Britain. It's also on YouTube. I'm guessing. And look, I got a copy. I got Little Maggie. If you're in Britain and they're not making Rainbow available, just try harder. It's out there, I'm sure. I found Little Maggie. I've got a copy of it. I got it onto my computer as an MP3. So I could listen, and I did. I listened to it 4 or 5 times, so I could reasonably talk about it. So Rainbow's poppy, and it's got a bit of an edge to it, and it's not. I almost want to compare it to Angel Dance, but not quite. Not the same. Not a comparison, I mean. It's not that good, or it's no, but that's better. It's just not, it's not really the same, but, same kind of tempo, and it is a pop song, and it is a bit infectious. So it's got a hook, it's got a vocal hook, it's got a melodic hook, and Plant is extending his voice a little more than he has in recent, most songs he's kind of within a very, very small range of notes. He's gone outside of that range, and now he's not doing he's not a Star Spangled Banner range or anything like that. And in case you don't know, professional singers will tell you Star Spangled Banner is the hardest song to sing. It starts off very low, and I think it's the second note. Oh, say can you? The second note, that say, it's like a B flat or something, and then by the end it's way up here. It's about 2.5 octaves higher. It's a C or something like it, or a D or something up. Depending, of course, what key you play in, etc. But I think it's the land of the free. The free is way. It's like 2 octaves higher than that second note. So for a singer, it climbs each way. But it's very hard. And most national anthems kind of are within a very narrow range because people stand in hockey games and mumble them. Here in Canada, that's what we do. I don't know what you do in your country. But yeah, because you want people to just be able to sing them, put their hand on their heart or whatever and stand up and sing it. And so you need to keep it simple. That tends to be the case with national anthems. It's not with the Star Spangled Banner. So that's all I was getting at. He's not Star Spangled Banner range. He's more like, he's, the Marseille or something. He's in that kind of range, but he's stepped outside the range of a fairly small, tight box of notes that he has tended towards in the last while. And I liked Rainbow a lot, actually. It was now I'm not gonna say I kind of joked on RambleOnRadio.com that Slate magazine called it some of Plant's best work in years. Now I threw on the Band of Joy album just to kind of I listened to this 3 or 4 times. I listened to Little Mag, and then I threw on Band of Joy. And I really liked the first 3 or 4 songs in Band of Joy. Band of Joy's funny, eh? You're going along going, I really like this, and then it seems to really fall off. But what I noticed was, Satan, Your Kingdom Must Come Down comes on, and I'm still going, it's still the fall off. But I really like Satan, Your Kingdom Must Come Down. I've listened to it a number of times outside of the album. I've listened to it. Well, it's theme song for the movie or the TV show Boss. If you haven't seen it, it's recommended. And you find it's a really effective song, and so I have it on my iPod, and every time once in a while it comes up in a playlist or something, and it's great. But then listen to it within the Band of Joy, it's kind of so I think it's not that it's not good songs on the Band of Joy. I think it's, and I did find this when I listened to the album. If I put on a side of the album, pick a side, any side, I like it, but run the whole thing all the way through. So 3 or 4 songs, and then you're kind of going, I've kind of heard this before. Your ears just settled into it, and it becomes very blah, I think is what happens, more than those first 3 or 4 songs are really good songs. That's my take. That's kind of my impression of that album. But anyway, I wouldn't say Rainbow's his best in years. I thought, I wonder if I have it up. Oh, let's see if I can find it. Let's see if I can get it really fast. JKLMNOPQR, the Band of Joy. And I think it was, House of Cards and Central 209. I really liked. And then you start, it starts sounding, Sydney Something Got Married is a nice enough song, but, I say Satan, Your Kingdom Will Come Down is a really good song, but, doesn't work that way, within the album, it doesn't work. As much anyway. It doesn't work as much. So, yeah, but Rainbow's good, and it belongs in those first couple of songs. Then, for sure, it's not way better than anything on Band of Joy, but it's not way outside of their Band of Joy was so much better. I would say it belongs in those songs, and yeah, it may become a favorite of his later work. I whistled past that a bit, didn't I? Just a little. I whistled past that point. But, hey, look, it's not Led Zeppelin, He can't sing like that anymore. Don't go buy on the Robert Plant album if you really want Led Zeppelin. It's not going to be, and it's going to be a disappointment. It just is. You have to understand what Robert Plant is nowadays and what he's trying to do. What he's trying to do is have some fun. He's trying to keep it going. For the sake of that's what he likes to do. Some guys try to keep going for the money. Some guys try to keep going for the sake of keep it because they don't know what else to do. I think Robert Plant really just enjoys doing this. I think he enjoys the camaraderie of a band. Anyway, the other songs were Pocket Full of Golden, which is a ballad, very pulled back. Now we're talking in the Band of Joy style with a small little box of notes. But it was a nice-ish song. Somebody There was another little pop, and I thought had a really infectious melody. And I note when I wrote on this on the Ramble On Radio, it's the kind of song I like a lot. I find it just had a feel that I like. It kind of song I kind of feel irresistible. And I said it may turn out in time to be one I like a lot. May is the emphasis word. But not yet. Not on this short clip. Over time, I might decide Somebody There is a really good song. So, the bottom line is, what we've got from this album is promising. But he's given us 2 songs and clips of 3 songs, and we're saying promising it's an 11-song album. The other 8 songs, whatever it is, could be rancid crap. You don't know. But that said, hey, I bought it. I couldn't resist that I bought it. Bought the album plus CD, and I don't know what the hell I'll do with a CD. Maybe I'll give it away at the show, because I have no interest. With the album plus CD plus a digital download. And plus an art print or something, which maybe I'll give away in the show. And we'll see. We'll see how that looks like. And that was $40. Now I got those of you who think I make a pile of money off this thing, off the blog, I got my second $100 check from Google in something like 5 years for Google Ads. Hey, if you see something on the website that you like, on the Google Ads, click on it, and you're going to buy it for that. And it does drop money in my account occasionally. So I was sitting with this $100, and my feeling is that's money that goes back into somehow or another the show. So it's kind of sitting in my PayPal account. And it's one I bought the two Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 2 CDs with, and you'll notice I'm frugal with the money I get from the blogs. I was trying to mention, go back to the last podcast if you don't know what I'm talking about. I worked very hard to save $2. But yeah, so I used that money as well to buy this album. It just seemed like it's a should do. I have no this if you're thinking, oh, maybe they'll send you a review copy, Brian. This is how confident I am they're sending me a review copy. Dropped $40 on the day it was available to buy the album. I have no confidence that I will ever get a review copy of this album. Which is all right, frees up my hands to hate the thing and say so, right? If I don't mean that snippy, but that's honest. If they send me a review copy, I feel a lot worse anyway if I sat here and said, oh, it's awful. Now, I sort of did that with California Breed. I didn't say it was awful, and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. It certainly wasn't as good as the Black Country Community, and they did send a review, so I'll do it. I'll say I don't like this. But I'll tell you a secret, though. When they send you this stuff, they say, if you write about it, please send me a link. I didn't send the California Breed guys a link. I didn't do it. So, talk about chicken, eh? I'm a chicken shit. Hey, he's chicken. He's chicken. Anyway, so that's all we got tonight. That's lots. Some stuff to chew on there about everybody. If you've been out to any of the shows, if you saw Hart and Jason Bonham, if you saw John Paul Jones with Dave Rawlings, if you've been seeing, I should have mentioned, Robert Plant's been touring Europe, added a bunch of dates for the fall for England and Ireland as well. And I meant to mention that. I don't have the tour dates. I thought I had written them down. I really did. But they're not here. But don't worry about it. He's touring around England right now, and he finishes off again. He finishes off like this weekend in Glastonbury, I think. So this is why I wanted to get it out this week, because next week everybody's gone home, and I was like, oh, this is going on. I hope you all missed it. But if you didn't miss it, if you saw any one of the 3 acts, 3 things. I have a funny feeling this is going to be like the 5 Ds of Dodgeball. Dodge is going to be in there twice. 3 things. Email me. Let me know how it was, what you thought of it, what you saw, like, didn't like. B, send pictures. If you send me some pictures, I'll put them on Facebook for sure. Or put them on the let's see, there's my 3 there. So I don't do Dodge. It's not going to be Duck, Dodge, and Dodge, right? But yeah, send me some pictures. I'll put them on the blog. I'll put them on Ramble On Radio with a little post about what you thought of the show. And post the pictures on Facebook. Post them on Twitter. I'll retweet them. Or if you post them on the Ramble On Radio Facebook page, everybody gets a chance to see them. Let us know as well what you thought. Excuse my friends who don't realize I do this at this time of night or at any other time of night. Yeah, do those 3 things, or one of those 3 things, if you saw them. I'd love to hear. Bottom line, I want to hear, how were they? How was Robert? How was John Paul Jones? How was Jason? If you saw Jimmy Page in 1983 with Yes, love to hear that. You got pictures? I really would like to see that. But yeah, and anybody's got pictures, send them along. Maybe we'll make something happen on a post, or at least the Facebook page. We could lighten it up for a few days. And other than that, that is all we have to talk about tonight. So thank you for listening. That's it for Ramble On Radio, episode number 65. The big 65. We are 2/3 of the way. Next one's 66. We're 2/3 of the way to the evil number, to the number of the beast. 2/3 of the way. Figure that one out. All your math guys are going, what's he talking about? 2 6s out of 3. That's what I'm talking about. Check rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast, Led Zeppelin news and reviews, and any links mentioned in today's podcast. Follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. Leave a review. Leave a star, leave 2 stars, leave 5 stars. I left 4 myself because Mother taught me not to be boastful, so I didn't leave 5. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker. Just give me a follow. If I can get that number up quite high, then I can apply to iHeartRadio, and maybe they'll actually care this time. And check it out, Ramble On Radio on YouTube. Apparently, it's also turning up on I Am Brian Dammit on YouTube, but that's just the audio. This is the video is actually on YouTube. You will see the Emmett Erdogan mug and that sort of thing. You will see my Chelsea shirt because the World Cup is on, and I've got my Chelsea shirt. I'm not a big soccer fan, by the way, so I've been following. I've been checking the paper every day. I can't tell how Chelsea is actually doing in the World Cup, but England's not doing well. And Russia didn't do well, and Chelsea's one of the two. They're either English or Russian. They're owned by a Russian. They're in England, right? But there you can see my nice Chelsea shirt. You can see the Dungeon Studio, and I should do this for you guys, right? There's the dungeon, and I have shown this around before a bit. So there you go on YouTube. Look at the picture of the kid on the wall. That's me. See the picture of, it's from Get the Light Out, Jimmy Marciano, signed by Jimmy. I took that picture myself, my Them Crooked Vultures clock, and it doesn't work, so I have no idea what time it actually is. There's the dungeon. It actually is a little dungeonish place, anyway. That's it. Thank you for listening. Ramble On Radio, episode 65. Keep it cool, babies.
Switch off the internet.
But plans change, and sometimes you have to be, sometimes you have to roll with it, baby, like you're a Steve Winwood podcaster. That's what has to happen. This week was Led Zeppelin 3 week. I was looking forward to it. Led Zeppelin 3, I have, right here, I have the music book, Led Zeppelin 3, which you can see on YouTube, by the way. Learning some of the songs on the guitar. And like learning them proper. No, not the way I learned them many, many years ago. It was always a favorite album. It was certainly from a guitar player's perspective. When I was a teenager, I fell in love with Led Zeppelin through Led Zeppelin 3. And was so mesmerized with the guitar playing in Led Zeppelin 3. So it's a big one to me. And I was really looking forward to this week and talking about it. And we're going to... Well, I say what? Ho, this is Brian. Call me your lucky charm, dressed up in Love Gardner, coming to you from Ramble On Tower's Dungeon Studio in scenic Hesper, Ontario, and you are listening to Ramble On Radio, episode number 65. Ramble On Radio is the only dedicated Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for your Led Zeppelin news, any links I might mention during the show, etc. You can subscribe to Ramble On Radio through iTunes. You go to iTunes, drop a little review, give a star, give 3 stars, give 5 stars. Everybody's been giving 5 stars. Thank you for that. but do so. It just helps with the placement of the podcast within the iTunes hierarchy. Listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble On Radio on Spreaker. Same issue, helps with placement. And check out Ramble On Radio on YouTube, where I am taping this tonight on a little tiny camera. It's actually a Tim Hortons camera. I talked about Tim Hortons. My daughter works at Tim Hortons for a while. It even says Tim Hortons on it. I'll have to take a picture of it and show you guys on Facebook. But anyway, follow Ramble On Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble On Blog on Twitter. I try to respond to people. You can also email me, rambleon@briangardner.ca. But again, I do try to respond. I do try to be back and forthish. I guess that's the right word, right? Anyway, had a plan this week. Oh, I had a plan. We'll do that next week. That's all. We had to roll with it, like I say. In the end, real world things happened in the Led Zeppelin world, and it'll wait a week. I didn't want to get too behind the curve, is what happens. I realized by the time I was doing last week's podcast, I kind of realized Robert Plant was touring, John Paul Jones was touring, Jason Bonham was touring, and I wasn't talking about any of that. And then this week, Robert Plant dropped a new song from his new album On Us. Actually dropped two, really, when you think about it. One is a single, another one's available on YouTube. Plus, if you go to iTunes, you can hear like a minute and 30 seconds of a couple of others, three others. I'll discuss all that. But that's basically those three things are happening, and I thought I didn't want to wait another